Hi, I'm Kim Hansen, and I'm going to share a practice called Awareness Through Movement. It is part of the Feldenkrais Method, and it's usually a longer movement exploration that starts very, very small and grows over the course of 40 or 50 minutes. But today it's just going to be 15 minutes or less. So it's a taste. You'll need for this a chair, and it's best to have a chair with a flat seat that's not tilted back like a camp chair or a folding chair, so more like a dining room chair is good. And come to the front edge so that you're not leaning against the back unless you want to take a rest, which you can do at any time. Have your feet comfortably flat on the floor, your legs are a bit apart, and your hands are just resting somewhere on your legs. We always like to start with a test movement so that our nervous system can register change or difference over the course of an exploration. So for this lesson, let's have the test movement be looking down and looking up. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this, and when I teach, I don't normally demonstrate, so people don't see me doing anything. They just hear the instruction and they try some things out. So any way you'd like, look down, look up, slowly do that a few times, slow enough that you can track some of what you might be doing. The image that you have of the motion is interesting. Do you track the shape of your spine or how you're sitting on your pelvis, or maybe just the comfort level of looking up in your neck, wherever you might feel that, how your low back feels when you look down. Whatever you're curious about is the thing to follow here. And then stop, and you may or may not remember what that felt like when we test again, but we're going to develop that capacity to notice change. So now, find your sits bones right on the chair. The sits bones are the very bottom of the pelvis. If you wiggle around a little bit, you'll find those bony contact points. And just notice, if you're not trying to do anything right, do you feel like you have equal weight on both sides of your pelvis, or are you a little heavier on one side? Are you a little forward of those bones or slouching a little back? Many of us have spent more time on the computer, whether we have jobs right now or not. We're Zooming with our loved ones. We're taking online classes. So sitting has become a bit of a habit. So we're going to just kind of freshen that up a little bit. So notice where you are on your sits bones just without trying to fix a thing. Now, can you roll back off of your sits bones? Now, there's a number of ways you can do this, so try a few different ways. How do you get behind so that the weight is rolling off the bottom of your pelvis? One way you can do it, and I'll turn this way, is you could think of your spine straight, almost like a broomstick handle, and that you can tip back and get behind your shoulder blades, your sits bones. But another way would be to round your whole spine and let the top of your pelvis come back like that. So try to stay with that second option a few times, and let your head look down. You look down, you roll back. You let the arms ride along. You let your belly be easy. You're not doing this with core strength. You're just changing your shape to roll behind your pelvis. And then pause and see what you would need to do to roll forward of your sits bones. If you want to tip the top of your pelvis forward so that your tailbone is sticking back, and you'll notice that your low back gets a little bit bigger of an arch. I notice for myself that I get longer through the front of me and that my head wants to lift a little bit. I can feel that my chin wants to go away from my chest a little bit. And then alternate between those two so that one time you're rolling back and one time you're rolling forward. And anything that wants to be included in the movement is invited. So there's no isolation required here. You can let your whole self participate as much as you'd like and just feel what it's like to roll forward and back on your sits bones and then come to rest for a moment. Now, a lot of times in Feldenkrais, we use something called a constraint, and it's a way that we impose a little arbitrary thing so that it wakes up a part of ourselves that maybe hasn't been participating as much lately. So now the constraint is going to be that we're going to bring our hands, I'm going to just turn a little bit so that you can see here. We're going to bring our palms together and the insides of the elbows together. And we don't have to press, but we don't want them to just freely open. And here, with the hands like this, let your eyes and your head follow as you move your arms upward just a little bit and then downward a little bit. So you're just keeping those fixed arms and you're sliding them up in the direction of the ceiling a bit and down towards the floor. And again, this is not an isolated activity, so how can you use your whole torso, maybe your legs, to make this simple so that you're not trembling, you're not having to tighten anything. You're just freely using yourself to let your eyes organize your head, your arms as you lift and lower. And pause. Now come back to that same thing, and we're going to differentiate this movement. It's going to be a movement of opposition. So now, as the arms look up, or as the arms lift, you're going to look down. And as the elbows drop, your eyes and your face look up. How can you coordinate this opposition most easily so that you just make it simple? It might have to be a little smaller. You don't want to hold your breath. Can you involve your pelvis somehow to help that? And then before you leave that, take everything together again. So your eyes, look at your hands as your head looks up and down, up and down. As you look up, you can roll forward on your sits bones, and as you look down, you can roll behind and get longer in your low back. And then let your arms come down at your sides. So again, I'm going to turn sideways here and just show you that when your back rounds back and you're coming behind your sits bones, there's a way that your pubic bone and the bottom of your sternum can come closer to each other. And as you roll forward on your sits bones, those 2 points become farther away. Never to the point of strain. Just keep it easy. Rolling and lengthening. All right. One last little variation now. Bring the arms back, but turn yourself about 45 degrees or so to one direction and try looking up and down there. Your pelvis is still forward, but from your waist up, you're turning your whole shoulder girdle, your head, your eyes. After you've done it a few times with everything going together, try that opposition where as you look down, your arms raise. As you look up, your arms lower. Feeling those diagonal relationships. The shoulder blades are asymmetrical right now relative to your spine. Your shoulder girdles are at an angle to your pelvis. And then let your arms come down and rest. If you need to lean back, if you want to cross your legs, whatever you'd like to do. All right, and let's do the other side. So bring them lightly together, twist to the other side. A few times, take everything together. Your gaze, your lifting and lowering, fingers looking up, elbows reaching down, rolling over the pelvis, feeling your 2 feet on the floor, how they could help you. And then a couple of times, opposition. Head and eyes go opposite the direction of the arms. Check your breathing, your jaw, your tongue. Let your gaze be very soft. Good, and then come back to the middle. And I'll just share with you, when I first took a Kundalini yoga class many, many years ago, when I was introduced to the concept of root lock, I don't know what I was doing, but I would just do this huge movement. Every single thing would get involved in it. And sometimes I would feel like it was a lot of stress in a way. And when I started to realize what we were actually trying to do is of bringing energy up, I got curious about what I was doing to my throat, because it felt like I was drawing this energy up and then I was cranking my throat closed and kind of stopping everything. So I started to play over the course of many weeks of drawing up my pelvic floor, drawing in my navel point, but letting my throat be open and soft, and really feeling like I could bring all of that work, all of that energy up through my head. And it made such a difference. And the way that I approached it was very much in this way, where I kind of played with different constraints, just being aware that I was doing, knowing that I was doing what I was doing was really useful. So maybe this will help you learn something about the way you've been sitting at a computer, or sitting and reading, or sitting and watching Netflix. All right, so let's do our test movement now. So come back to the edge of your chair again with your feet on the floor, and very easily and gently look down and up. Again, let everything participate. Your belly, your organs, your breath, the image that you have of your spine as it moves through space, the freedom in your head, the conversation that your head and pelvis can have with each other. And finally, feel your legs, feel your feet in the floor, how they can push a little to take you back, how they can pull a little to bring you forward. Pushing your feet forward as you roll back, and drawing the feet back as you look up. And then just make it smaller and smaller and easier until you arrive right back over your very own sits bones. And we'll leave the lesson there. Thank you so very much for your time and your participation. And if you have any questions, please give me a shout. I'm at kimhansen.org. So KIM@KIMHANSEN.org. Thank you so much.